Hello, welcome today to Celebrity Customer Experience Riffs with me, Jill Raff, for episode number 80. Well, why do we call it Celebrity Customer Experience? I think we all know what a celebrity experiences throughout their day, every day of their life, wherever they go, they are being pampered. They are being totally taken care of. They're being treated better than most others. And why is that? Because they've been successful at their trade, at whatever, as an actor or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, when they give you their business and they pay for the whatever product or service it is, and you deposit that money in the bank, their dollar is the same value of your dollar, of anyone else's dollar. So I believe that we all need to be treated like celebrities and therefore celebrity customer experience. Now, my philosophy is based around the idea of EX to CX. When you establish great employee experience, you will deliver great customer experience. Or for that matter, if you don't have a great culture where you have great employee experience, I can pretty much guarantee you your customers will not have a great experience as well. So, right, the celebrity customer experience seems pretty obvious, but how do we do that? So, that's going to be the topic of today's conversation. It's what I call a connection culture. So, before we dive into that, I just want to say thank you for joining me today. Even if you're watching the replay, the recording, thank you. Please tag me. Let's create the conversation. It's so much more fun and much more interesting to have a conversation around these things. And I love to hear your feedback, your ideas, your input. So, let's dive right in. Okay, connection culture. What does that mean? How do you create that? Why is it important? Well, I believe that culture is something that goes through every piece of your business. It should be a part of your employee journey. It should be a part of your customer journey. You want your customers to also feel very much connected, that there's a loyalty and a commitment, and that comes about through establishing this connection culture that is then imparted and exemplified and lived into by your employees for your customers to experience that. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Of course, I believe that it starts in the inside and at the top. It's why I call my process, my proprietary process is named the Inside Out Framework. I think it does have to start in the inside with your leadership, not only your managers, but your leadership really understanding what is their goal, what is their purpose, and how do we solidify that and create systems around that so that we have consistency. I'm hitting on a bunch of key, really big topics, but you could dive into many of them just with that, just one of those things. But I want you to hear some of the, excuse me one second, sorry about that. Some of these keywords about consistency, right? Culture, leadership, not just manage your people, but really lead them. And at every level, I believe we should create leaders at every level. And how is that done? It's through this culture that you are creating, starting with your core values, your high values of what your brand stands for, what the brand purpose is. What is, when someone comes to buy from you today, more important than ever, customers want to know, what does this brand stand for? They want to support and give their business to brands who believe in the same things that they feel are important. Now, this is really important because there is so much competition today. I can guarantee you, no matter what you sell, what product, what service, you will find people who can provide the same thing. But how do you differentiate yourself? How are you different than the others? You must distinguish who you are so that people say, I want to go to XYZ, to the name, right? Insert the name of your business to buy this. I want to go to your business name to experience this. I want to go to the name of your hotel because I know what I'm going to get, what I'm going to be how I'm going to feel, how I'm going to be treated, right? There's an expectation piece in there. So let's just break this down a little bit. To create that connection culture, we established it starts at the top, it starts inside, but it is emanated not just top to bottom or even bottom. And I say bottom, I don't mean anything. There's no judgment about that in terms of it's hierarchy of task, of leadership, right? So you have to listen to your people. So it's also your front lines talking back to you, and you really, as leadership, being open to hear what they have to say, to create it systematically, to find events, activities within your company so that you can hear what they are hearing from their customers. They are your first main source directly tapped to your customers. Those are your people you should be speaking with and listening to openly, non-judgmentally, even hearing anonymously so that you can get the truth from your people. That's what you need and that's what you want. So it works both ways, up and down vertically, but it really works horizontally as well. It works across every silo, every department of your business. In order for this to be successful, it has to be up and down, sideways, and really what I think of as this synergistic cycle, this beautiful circle of educating, of engagement, of empowering, of entrusting, getting feedback, getting referrals from the top, internally from the beginning, and externally as you go around the circle, and it keeps going. It doesn't ever finish. It's not like, okay, we've achieved this point and that's it. We're done. We're good. We're filling our seats. We're filling our rooms. Our day rates are up. I've sold this many packages. I have this many new clients, depending upon what it is that you sell. And I always say, it really doesn't matter. I'm asked often when I speak or on podcast in the preliminary parts or actually on the interview, who are my ideal clients? And for me, it really does not matter what you're selling. People are people first and customers second. And I think that's the key. And I'm all about creating a culture within a company, helping. I can't create it. The people in the company have to, but I like to assist them to give them fresh eyes, fresh ears on helping them create the systems that are right for their brand specifically. And yes, it works off the same inside out framework, but it's flexible depending upon the needs of your company, depending upon the brand promise you have, the brand culture that you want to create. Does your vibe have something that's kind of funky and edgy and a little cheeky? Or is it something that's very corporate, very strict, very personal and very formal and, wouldn't use certain language, right? You think about that in your marketing, it really touches into every aspect. So you have to be brand consistent. So a great example of this actually is one just recently, I purchased some coffee. It's this coffee that has L-theanine, I don't know how to pronounce it, and cacao and some other things added to it to help work naturally with your body and increase various things. These days there's a lot of promises. But a friend had introduced us to it. And so I thought, well, that's interesting. It's supposed to help, stay calm and all this. So I'll try it. So I absolutely love their branding. When you go to their website to order, when you get the confirmation emails back, it is very cheeky. It is very like in your face. And recently I received an email that said, your 10% coupons ending soon. And they said, don't F, and then an asterisk, CK up. Don't F it up. Right. And I was like, wow, that's very bold. And they are clearly making a stance on their brand, on their culture, how they communicate. And I love it. That's who they are. They're living into that throughout every email and everything that communications that I've had with them. So interestingly, I wrote back because I'm getting all these promotions and I haven't received my product yet. So my friend told me it was her friend that gave her the sample to try. That's how we became aware of it. So I knew it was a personal friend of hers. And I wrote back to him and said, look, I'm getting all these promotions to buy more and to get this discount off, and don't F it up and miss out on this opportunity. Well, I already ordered. I haven't received my order yet, so I'm not going to buy more till I try out your product. So I hope you don't. I said, just to use your own language in jest, I hope you don't F it up. And when am I going to receive my order? Well, I got an email back from him that said, like, LOL, lots of laughs out loud and ha ha ha. And this really made me laugh out loud. So it created a conversation. So this is the takeaway I want you to hear. By them living into their brand and being consistent across the board, I knew that's who they were, and I played back into it. And so it created engagement with the customer. And even though I don't even know them yet, I already love just the whole interaction. So that's just one aspect of it. Okay, so going back to connection cultures, I think to create that connection culture within your company, you need to first make sure that you have alignment. And that means looking at what I call the gaps in your company. I do a gap analysis for companies to figure out where is the break in perception between what leadership thinks is happening and what your frontline or even your mid managers are feeling of their experience. There is often a huge disconnect. Bain & Company did a study saying 80% of leadership thinks they're delivering a superior experience, while only 8% of customers agree. And I would go so far as to say those customers also would entail, in reality, would entail your employees. Your employees are your internal customers. They're your frontline customers. Yeah, I definitely take a look at that. That's what's really important from the very beginning, making sure that you bridge that gap, find out where the gaps in perception are, and then can create a roadmap. At that point, I sit down and I work with people to figure out what is the roadmap of how do we fill these gaps? What's important to you? What's the most urgent? What's your most pervasive problem? What's your most expensive problem? What's your timely problem, right? How do we figure out, how do we prioritize that and then go forward? So after we create the gap analysis, then we can have information to work from. And what we find is that most of the time, there is a lack of expectation management going on. It's why my next piece is called expectations management, because your people cannot feel connected to one another. They will not understand what you're about. They will not know how to interact with each other and your customers. They may not know how to perform their skills, and let all of these things, unless you have established and educated them on what's most important. Create those expectations so that you can hold people accountable. There is no way you can hold people accountable if they don't even know what's expected of them. And really, it's mutual, right? The employees have a right to have expectations of their company. So it's not a one-way street anymore. If you are still working from pre-pandemic thinking that everything's great and you go back to business as was, ouch, you are going to be damaged. You will not be able to survive this swift change. I mean, the speed of change now is really like, you could break your neck, right? You're just constantly, oh, this is happening. No, now the expectations are here. Now the customers want that, but then the employees want that. The change is happening so rapidly in technology to meet the changes that we experience with pandemic. And once customers have experienced something new, once the employees have a new scenario, that is going to be establishing your starting point for going forward. It's not going back. So first and foremost is to recognize that and adjust your culture and your company accordingly. And the new culture isn't just about playing ping pong or having pizza lunches delivered or, food and snacks in your refrigerator. It's about balancing your people, appreciating your people, respecting your people, acknowledging them, hearing from them, including them into the goals and purpose of your company. Now, I'm not saying as a leader or an owner, entrepreneur, that you let your people define your business for you. On the contrary, it's your company. You decide and you hopefully you've done all your due diligence, you know that your product has a need in the market. Once you establish who you are and what you want to be, you need to hire people who are the right fit. And when I say that, it means people who are in alignment with those values, not just warm body hiring. These elements are all a part of what it takes to create that connection culture that's bringing on the right people. Uh, Stop doing warm body hiring. That's what's happening everywhere now because it's really hard. Staffing is a big problem, and I get it. But to just hire anyone because of, it's a warm body to throw out on the floor, it's a mistake. It's a Band-Aid, but it will hurt you in the long run. It's going to affect the energy, the motivation, the camaraderie, the cohesiveness of your team that exists. And you'll end up with a greater turnover, and you're almost you're exacerbating the problem. So, oh gosh, so much could be talked about with just that one issue alone. But anyway, we won't go into that right now, but I just want to emphasize that when your culture, of your team, your employees feels connected to one another, that's when you find that you are having relationships established, and relationship marketing, relationship employment, that is going to provide you with the the long-term investment of your employees into your people. And that's when your costs will be cut. Business owners are always looking at the bottom line as the most important thing. Well, your bottom line will take care of itself when you first stop and prioritize your people. I cannot say that enough. If this is something that you have not reviewed or done yet, we are coming to the end of the year. If you have budget money that needs to be spent now so that you make sure you have it for next year and you can tap in and talk to me, let's figure out, how do we fill your needs? How do we help your company prioritize their people? Create those systems I can help you with. Look at your values right now and let's tweak them so that every decision you make going forward for 2022 will be in alignment with the current and current values, current brand promises that will follow through into not only 2022 but years ahead. It's time to reassess everything that you're doing. It's the one thing that I love to do, is dive in and really look at each person's problems, what's going on, how is their business made up. And it's where I think I add value because I have worked across multiple industries. I have lived in 7 countries, crossing 3 continents, different cultures. Talk about culture, right? Like, those are different cultures. And I've really had experience working with many different types of people who think differently, which gives me the perspective that's a multicultural, multidimensional, and multi-industrial perspective that many trainers, consultants, strategists don't bring to the table. I may not be the right fit for you, and that's okay. But let's have that conversation. I'm going to put my information up on the screen for you. If you want to reach out to talk at the end of through this year, that's great. Let's figure out, just have a conversation. No obligation, no cost, and see whether or not we are right fits for each other. That is not just a warm body hiring, that we make your investments work for you to really see a strong ROI in your people that will last you for the long run. You cannot afford to have a quick fix, a Band-Aid approach as what you would call strategy for your business. Band-Aids are not strategies. They're putting out fires. They're quick fixes. It covers the wound, but the wound is still there underneath and will come up again. So, just like following the metaphor, right, with the doctor, you go to the doctor to diagnose what's going on. Let's diagnose. Let's talk about what's happening with your company and then figure out, what is the prescription? What is it that's needed to help make those changes in your business? So at the end of the day, what will ultimately make the biggest change in your business and have the greatest impact is creating a connection culture where people become committed and loyal, and they are your best advocates and customer magnets. Your people working for you are the ones who are going to talk about how great your company is and what you stand for. They will be a living example of what you are. And that's ultimately what everyone wants. So thank you for joining today. It's a quick one. And next week, I'm super excited. Please join me next Thursday, 12 o'clock Central, here on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. I have my guest, Michelle Brigman, who's the Senior Director at Medallia, collects data. Speaking of data, really an interesting program. But besides that, she is involved with a lot of leadership organizations, women organizations, has her own podcast now, speaks to amazing people. So it should be a fantastic conversation. I want to invite you to join us next week, next Thursday, at the same time, same place. And I look forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, create great experiences. And I wish you all the luck with that, and look forward to hearing about the experiences that your people are having internally and externally from EX to CX. Thank you.